Hi there, I am Gudrun from Gudrun Crochet. I am a knitter and crocheter from Belgium, and today I am here with a video talking about 3 projects that I am planning to frog to use the yarn for something else. So hi, welcome or welcome back. As I said, my name is Gudrun. I am a 22-year-old knitter from Belgium. I'm also a student. And being a student means that I have a bit of a limited budget, and knitting is an expensive hobby. And so I was thinking about what I want to make for the next few months, and to save on some money, I went into my closet and looked for hand knitted or hand crocheted clothes of mine that I just don't wear. I found 3 projects that are all quite old. They are all made without a pattern, so I self-drafted them, and really the fit just it's not that great, so I think I want to repurpose the yarn for something that I will wear a bit more. In this video I will talk about the projects, what I hope I will be able to make with them afterwards, and maybe also show a bit of the frogging process and see how much yarn we have of each. The actual making of the projects will be in a different video, or maybe just like mentioned in knitting podcasts or something, not sure yet. Another aspect of this, so it's good for my wallet, but it's also good for the planet, because of course knitting is a slow hobby, but it still takes quite a lot of materials like wool. Cotton uses a lot of water, so if you're using these materials, it's best to use them in a way that you will actually use them a lot, and if you don't use that, it's still a bit of a waste. So repurposing these projects is pretty much the most eco-friendly thing you can do. You can also give them away if you think someone else will like it more. Really depends. But I just mostly am doing this to save some money. I'll immediately get started with the first, and I think this one is the oldest project. This has really been in my closet for a long time. I made this in my first year at university. I'm now in my 5th year, so it is a few years old, and it is crocheted. It's gonna be the only fully crocheted item here. It is a crochet cardigan that I made. It is made with Drops Paris, I think, which is a 100% cotton yarn, and I crocheted this on 5mm hook. So it is quite thick, it is quite dense, and it is quite stiff as well. And I used, what stitch is this? I think it is half double crochet that I used all over. It's the same stitch all over, so it is quite thick. And also in terms of like shaping, as you can see, the front pretty much lines up with the back, except for like one row maybe. So there's just not a lot of shaping. There's a lot of belching under the underarms because the arm is straight. It doesn't have any short rows to shape the top of the arm, and it is a pretty tight fitting garment, so I have a lot of fabric here. So I wore this a bit in the beginning, but I haven't worn it in the last 3 years, I think, just because the fit is really not good. But this is a full-on cardigan, and yes, it is a relatively tight cardigan, but it is crochet, which means that this takes up more yarn than knitting would. So I think I can get a little bit of an oversized cardigan out of this if I knit this. And I was thinking, let me check my computer so I don't say anything wrong. I was thinking about making the Fennel seed jacket by Florence Miller, which is knit on 5mm needles, which is the recommended needle for this yarn. And this needs between 900 and 1600 meters. I'm usually a size small, so it's going to be the 2nd or 3rd size. In between the 2nd and the 3rd size. Okay. 15 centimeters of positive ease. I think I would go for the bigger size if I have enough yardage. And let's just hope I have enough yarn. It says here. Okay, so if I can get 1050 meters out of this, then I'll have enough. We will see. I haven't weighed this, so I have no idea how much is in there, but it is pretty heavy. So I think there is quite a bit of yarn in here. The question will also be whether I get all of the yarn out of there or if I have to cut some sections. Now the yarn does have a little bit of wear. I don't think you can tell on camera, but it has like a little bit of pilling. I hope that's not too bad and you won't be able to see that in the end results, but yes. I think this one is going to be difficult to frog because I crocheted this in panels and then sewed these panels together, I think. No, the sleeve is crocheted in the round, but the body I have sewed it together here. So I first have to undo that sewing before I can rip out the body. And I also have to take off the buttons as well without it like, oh, and I sew them on pretty well. So that's gonna be like a hassle to get off there. But we're gonna try, and we're also gonna repurpose these buttons. I hope I'll have enough, but I think I will. So yes, that's project number 1 that we're hoping to save. Next one is also an old one. This is one of my first knitting projects. My first knitting project was a sock, I think. Then I started this. Then started another project while I was still working on this. And the other one was with a pattern. I've also gotten rid of that though. I've given that away. And then this one. So this is my first knitting project without a pattern. Which makes it a bit sad. But really, it's just not fitting right. So, what year was this? I think this was the summer of 2022. And on knitting social media back then, I think there was a pattern for a knit polo that had come out. And I wanted that, but I didn't want to buy the pattern. So I wanted to try on my own. This is a raglan. Had never done a raglan before. I just did it without a pattern. I don't know how that worked out. And then to have the color of the polo to be the same on both sides, I did it with 1x1 ribbing. The problem with 1x1 ribbing is that it sucks in, which this does as well. So it's not sitting like to the front as you want it. And also I gave it a V-neck pretty much. And you can see the flap of the polo, it just goes to the back because it starts so late and then also it just shrinks. And this also doesn't have any short rows, so it also falls to the back. So that's really, really sad. I made this with Drops Merino, which is pretty soft yarn. It's not the softest, but it is pretty soft. It is in perfect state, but I just didn't wear it that much, so that might also be why. The difficult thing with this one to frog it is gonna be that I did it with a tubular bind off. So I think I'm gonna have to use my scissors for this one and just cut off the top row and then try to find an end that will like unravel easily. So I think I'm gonna lose some yarn there, also on the body. I'll try to undo the tubular bind off first, but I really don't think that's gonna be possible. I'm gonna have to cut this off. So that's that. But since this is a t-shirt, meaning it has short sleeves, and I think a lot of yarn went into this color, I'm kind of hoping to be able to make the Maggie cardigan by Petiteknit. It's a short sleeve cardigan. I think it looks pretty cute. So I want to be able to make that. If I measure the yarn and realize I'm not going to have enough, then I'll probably make the Maggie vest, which doesn't have the sleeves still here, it's just ribbing. I think I should definitely have enough for the Maggie vest. I'm hoping for the Maggie cardigan, but we will see. This was made on 4mm needles and it is a bit see-through. The Maggie cardigan is on 3.5mm needles and I think that's gonna be better for this yarn because I really feel like it's a bit too see-through. And with this, the ribbing and the stockinette were done on the same size needle because that's the only needle I had. And this is not double knit, it's also ribbing. So yeah, I'm still pretty proud of this one. Like the fact that I hadn't made anything that was somewhat similar to this. I had only made 2 pairs of socks, and then I still made this without a pattern. I think it's really good, but it's just sitting in my closet for nothing, and it would be better off in a new garment and giving me some more knitting joy. So we'll see how this one goes. And now we're already on to the last one. God, this one, it's a big flop. I wanted to make like a button-up little t-shirt with like linen-based yarn to wear during summer. To either wear it on its own or on top of something else. And I wanted it to be a cardigan. But in my like measurements and stuff, I made a mistake and I took out way too much space from the front. So I think I wanted to have my ribbing like 2 centimeters wide, and instead of taking out like half of those 2 centimeters on this side and half of those 2 centimeters on this side, I did it on both. So I ended up with a really big gap, and I didn't want to have ribbing that big. So that's my attempt. And I did something weird to not buy buttons. So it's done in broken rib, I think, as you can see. And then this is a crochet edge. Don't ask me why. And these are little loops. And then I made like this on this side, also with a very thick crochet edge. And then like my goal was to, ta-da. But it's not pretty, it's not holding up well. I don't wear it that much. It also does not have any short row shaping, so it just falls to the back. Yeah, no. This is not it. I made this using Drops Belle, which is a yarn that I really like actually. It's not the softest, but you know, it's not scratchy. It's a linen, viscose and cotton blend. And what I like is that it has some more drape than 100% cotton. So that's why I went for this yarn. So we're gonna have to try and frog this. I think this one will be okay-ish, somewhat. Because the bottom is just a regular bind off, so that should be able to come off pretty easily. And then the crochet, I'm just gonna have to find where I think I made this button band first, and then I went around the collar, and then I did this one. Okay, so I think this is only gonna have one end for the entire crochet section that goes around it. Nice, nice. And knowing me, I started with where my bind off ended, so that's amazing. That should be doable. In terms of frogging, I think the sleeves, I did a few rows, so I will have to undo the sleeves as well. But I do think this one is going to be okay in terms of getting it to frog pretty easily. Now, this is a bit, as you can see, it's a very cropped situation, has very, very short sleeves. But I do want to get a t-shirt out of it and not a top. Because I just feel like I'm more of a t-shirt fan when it comes to knitwear. Because you're not wearing that when it's like 35 degrees outside. You're wearing that when it's like 20 to 25. Whereas a top for me is more like above 25 degrees weather-wise. And I feel like hand knitting is not the best for that. Because it's still, I think this was knit on 4.5 millimeter needles or 4 millimeter needles. And that's still, it feels a bit too thick. Anyways, I hope I have enough yarn to knit the Peacock tee by LEKNIT. This one is knit on 4 millimeter needles and then 3 millimeter needles for the ribbing. It has like a lace section around here, and then it's just stockinettes. And oh, it's so pretty. It is really very pretty. And I have seen some people in the project pages that made it with this yarn, so I know it will work. I just hope I have enough meterage to make it. Now I can always crop it a little bit. I think if I want to make this t-shirt, I am going to, of course, knit the yoke, knit until like somewhere along the body, then knit the sleeves first, so I at least have sleeves, and then just knit until I run out of yarn, probably. I think I might have a skein, or like half a skein somewhere under my bed in like a storage box of this yarn. I'll have to look for it because that would be really nice, because then I'm pretty sure I can make the peacock tee. But it seems like a nice t-shirt. It has some positive ease, so it's not like too tight fitting, because linen is not gonna have a lot of stretch. So yes, we will see. I'm not gonna frog them all at once. I'm going to do that over the course of like a week or two or so. And then I'll check in with you guys to talk about how much yarn I got out of these 3 bad boys. And what I can make with them based on how much yarn I have in terms of weight, and then calculate the yardage and stuff. And I'll also let you know how it went in terms of cutting and stuff. And then doing the seams, we will see. It's my first time frogging a finished piece. I have frogged like small sections of something that I was working on at a time. So there were no ends woven in, there were no things sewn together, no bind-offs, nothing like that. So I'm a bit scared, especially also for the sewn in ends. I really don't know how that's gonna go. We will have to see. Hopefully we don't have too much that we have to cut. Anyways, I will check in with you guys once I have frogged all 3 of these. And then hopefully we can start working on some projects. Okay, see you in a bit. Bye-bye. Okay, so I just finished frogging the entire red cardigan, crochet cardigan, and I have 492 grams. Now the issue is Drops Paris has 75 meters per 50 grams, which means that I have less than 750 meters, which is not enough for the Fennel seed jacket, not even for like the extra small. So I'm gonna have to look for a different pattern to make with this. I do really want a cardigan, because I think a 100% like a little bit thick cotton cardigan would be nice to have for the spring as like a little jacket or a cardigan. But I will have to see. I'll maybe make like a gauge swatch, or I can just look at the gauge on what the yarn is supposed to be. Maybe that's easier. And then see if I can find any patterns that fit the gauge and the meterage that I have. Yeah, it's very disappointing. I really thought it was gonna be a lot more yarn in there. I felt like it was pretty heavy, but apparently it was only 500 grams. So anyways, I did also realize, so I first did the sleeves because that seemed the easiest, and then took off the buttons, and I wanted to start on the body. To realize then that I had crocheted the body bottom up, so I couldn't just start frogging on the bottom until like the cast on edge. No, I had sewed it together on the top, so I had to undo that sewing before I could start frogging the body. So that was quite a undertaking. I think both of the arms were about 100 grams, like a little bit less than 100 grams of yarn. The back was 140 grams, and then the front, the one without the buttons, was 80 grams, and the one without the buttonholes was 78 grams, so 2 grams less due to the buttonholes. But yeah, I'm very, very disappointed that I will not be able to make the Fennel seed jacket with this yarn. Buying more is worthless because it's gonna be a different dye lot. I don't even know what this dye lot is anymore, so we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna look for a different pattern to make with that, and I'll update you guys probably on that on the end of the video, and I'll give some intermediate updates for the other 2 projects that I'm still gonna frog. But I'm not gonna do that today anymore. My arm is tired from winding my yarn winder, so I'll update you guys in a few days. Bye bye. Okay, so I also finished frogging the pink vest cardigan situation and the blue top. I'll start with the pink vest. Sorry, it's in a plastic bag. I stored it in here, so it's making some noise. So this is what it looks like caked up. I have 237 grams of this, which I think will be just about enough for my size. Let me check. I'll get my computer because I think this will be around like 550 meters, something like that. I think so. And then if we get the Peacock tee by LEKNIT. Okay, no, so it's not gonna be enough. Oh gosh, I mismeasured that. But I think I'm just gonna crop it. I think I am just gonna try and make that pattern, and we're just gonna crop it. Both the sleeves like 1 centimeter, and then the body just knit until we run out of yarn. Because I really feel... so I frogged the cardigan. I also still found this in my stash, which is, I think is 30 grams. And I just feel like if I look at what I made with this yarn, I think I can get a t-shirt out of that. Definitely if it has some like lace around here. We're just gonna do it, and it might turn out extremely cropped. And if it does, then that's okay. I don't really mind cropped t-shirts that much. Now, the other yarn, so the blue one, I got 4 reasonably sized skeins and then 2 tiny little ones, and I have 208 grams in this, which is really not that much. And I looked it up, and the Maggie vest by Petiteknit is, I think it needs like 700 meters or something, but this only has, I think it has 100 meters or like 105 meters per 50 grams. So this, I have about 400 meters, which apparently is not enough for the Maggie vest. Maybe because it's now 3.5 and this was now 4mm needles. I don't know. I still don't buy it. I don't understand how I could get an entire t-shirt out of this with like the ribbing part that was supposed to like make it look like a polo was almost an entire skein. So I don't understand how like a tee or something then still needs more yarn than this. It's yarn math, it doesn't check out in my head. Anyways, this yarn, the reason I was thinking about making the Maggie cardigan is because it is actually quite thin to work on 4mm needles. So it was a little bit see-through, not too bad. I was like, oh, I think it's gonna work perfect on 3.5. Apparently it won't work for the meterage that I have. But I have this huge box with yarn that I have left over from previous projects. And there's lots in here. So I bought way too much for the Assisi sweater. This is Holstgarn Coast, which is a very, very thin yarn. Held it double, might even have to hold it triple actually to match the gauge of these other ones. This is Drops Charisma, which is this, I think it's burgundy red. I don't know. It's like a red wine color, I guess. I knit the storm sweater with this on 4mm needles. So, you know. Then I have Drops Air. I have like 2 halves of skeins left over as well on top of this, so that's a lot of meterage. Which I have knit the Clematis sweater on, which was on 4.5mm needles. Now this is actually for 5mm needles, so not really the same gauge, but I think I can work this on 4.5, and I know I can work this on 4.5. Then I have some Drops Alpaca, which I have held double to knit a sweater, also on 5mm needles, but I think 4.5 will also work. Then I have this Lang Yarns Merino Plus, which I made the, I think it's a tulip loop sweater, which is on 4.5mm needles, worked perfectly. I have this Rico design, Baby Merino, which was much thinner than I anticipated, because I bought this to make the Aster sweater from Petiteknit, which is on 4mm needles. And it says it can be worked on 4mm needles, yeah. 3.5 to 4mm needles. You cannot. It's completely see-through. It's completely, like, it's not thick enough. But if I hold these threads next to each other, will I be able to do that? They are similar in thickness. And I was thinking, I have 4 skeins of this, to hold it double. As well as this, like, Drops Baby Alpaca and the Drops Flora. I'm also going to hold these ones double, and then the other one single, to knit a scrappy sweater. You know, using lots of yarn that I have left over from previous projects. They are like a mixture of colors. I have 2 greens in there, like the burgundy red. I have a white beige, I have a brown, I have a black, I have a purple. I think I already have like a dark blue, but I think a light blue can still fit in there. So I might add it in this pile and then make a scrappy sweater out of it. Or I could combine it with, oh, it's coming off, the tag is going off anyways, with the Rico design yarns, because I really think it is a very similar thickness of yarn, and I think the colors work together. So as you can see, they're relatively similar in my opinion. And of this I have 4 skeins. Each skein is 100 meters, so I have the same meterage. So like a stripy tee could work, maybe. I have 800 meters with those 2 together. If you have any ideas for this, I think it's Drops Baby Merino and then the Rico Design Baby Merino, to hold them, like to make a sweater with the 2 of them, like a t-shirt or a vest or anything. If you have any recommendations of patterns, please do let me know, because I don't know, if I don't find something for these 2, the blue ones will go into the pile and will hopefully someday be made into a sweater. I was thinking the Aros sweater by Petiteknit, but that's for 4mm needles. I would probably do this on 4.5. So I'd have to like do a lot of calculations and stuff. So I don't know if that's really an option. But like the worst case scenario is it goes into this bin and hopefully just gets turned into something one day with all of those things together. One thing about the Drops Paris that I had frogged at like as first one, I found a little bit more in my stash, which is 22 grams. Woohoo! So still not a lot of meterage, but I made a little gauge swatch. As you can see, it is a little bit like holy. This was knit on 6mm needles to like try to see if it will work for the Clematis sweater chunky. Now the Clematis sweater chunky is knit on 5.5mm needles, but I don't have that, so I'd have to buy that first. So this is on 6, and I was able to hit gauge with the 6mm needles, so maybe I would have to do it on that. But I still don't have quite enough yarn for the Clematis sweater. I lack a little bit of yarn, but I think like slightly cropping it a little bit could work, maybe. So my plan for this yarn is I think I am going to buy 5.5mm needles at first, because I think this is just a little bit too see-through maybe. And also I know my yarn store has like a lace weight merino yarn. I think I'm gonna find a color that matches this and then hold that with it. It's barely gonna do anything in terms of thickness, like barely, but I think it might do just enough that with the 5.5 I can hit gauge without it looking too holy, maybe even get above gauge, who knows. And then get the Clematis sweater chunky out of it, because I do think it's a very pretty color, and I think it would fit with something like a bit special like the Clematis. And I have the regular Clematis sweater and I wear it a lot. I love it. So having something for like spring and even the summer as like a layer, a non-extremely woolly layer, would be really nice. And then it's this thick cotton with like a very tiny bit of merino. I think that would work. At least I hope so. But if you have any other recommendations with this yarn, let me know, because I could not find anything that I wanted. I don't want like anything short-sleeved, just because it's such thick, heavy yarn that I'm not gonna wear a t-shirt made out of this. I'm only gonna wear a sweater made out of this. So yeah, that's a pity. So yes, conclusion, I don't have enough yarn for anything. I frogged 3 projects and I'm not sure what I'll be able to make with them. But yes, wish me luck with this one, that I can get a peacock tee out of this, because I really want a peacock tee. It's so pretty. And I just hope that it looks acceptable in terms of length. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, with the polo tee, I think I showed it that I'd undid the I think it's tubular bind off on the sleeves, like stitch by stitch, but it took quite a while and I didn't want to do that for the bottom because it's really long circumference, so I cut it. And then when I started to like look for what thread I could use, I had these tiny bits of yarn going everywhere. My entire room was, I can still spot like a little bit over there. My entire room was covered in like, they were like, I don't know, 3 millimeters long or something, bits of blue yarn, like little curls everywhere. They flew, and then I tried to collect as many as I could, put them in the bin, and then I started with my yarn binder, and even when I was up to the like the collar, I still had bits flying off. They went everywhere. So that was a bit traumatizing. I don't think I'm ever gonna, I don't want to cut off any tubular bind off anymore. I might have to someday, but that was not a nice experience. But I can spot one little bit over there, so I'm gonna clean that after this so I don't lose it out of sight. And then I hope I will have cleaned all of them and don't find some for the next year or so. But yes, if you have any recommendations for any of these yarns, even also for this one, if you find it like a pattern that matches better with the yardage that I have, because I think I have around 550 meters, let me know, because I would rather find a pattern that I like more or as much as a peacock tee for which I have enough meterage than knit a peacock tee I might run out of yarn. So yes, this was my attempt at reusing some yarn, which is good for my wallet and good for the planet. And if you guys are planning on doing something the same, or if I inspired you to maybe look through your closet and reuse some yarn, then I'm very happy. Let me know what you guys are going to be working on. And for now, see you in the next video and happy knitting. Bye!